What is a Blitzkrieg Brothers favorite number? 9! Hey there, hi there, ho there, Andrew here, and what number are we on again? 9! Oh yeah, that's right. We're on the 9th Scare Actor Q&A, which is what people have asked me in person and online about what it's like being a scare actor and the experience that I have had being in Halloween Horror Nights Orlando. But before we go on any further, a big shout out to Kevin Allers. Actually, his last name is Allers, representing the ARD in the CLE. And some of you might have known Kevin from previous questions in previous Q&As, which I think is a perfect way for me to segue into. If you haven't seen any of the previous Q&As, go ahead, check out the link above. And if you have a question yourself and you haven't seen it in any of the previous Q&As, go ahead, leave a comment down below. I will go ahead and leave a comment back to you saying that it will be going into a future video if I go ahead and choose it to be in a future video. And I'm going to give you a little hint here. I've picked almost every question there has been asked to go into a video. So there is a good chance that your question is going to get up there. Now, before we go on, I have to say, since I started off this little video as a joke towards Germans, and I'm allowed to do that because I have German heritage, I have a free pass on that. Let's go ahead and put the first question to somebody from Germany. So Dominic M says, happy birthday. By the way, would you recommend to go through a house as a person which is really easy to scare? Do you have tips for those persons? Greetings from Germany. Well, thank you for the birthday wishes, Dominic. Sounds like you might be considered what is called scare bait. And if you do not know what scare bait is, click the link above. I have put in a video, it was during Halloween Horror Nights number 25, about what scare actors call everybody in different categories that come through the houses. It's an unofficial list. It's really a list that I created, talking to a couple different scare actors, but it's pretty popular. And I am certain that everybody that goes ahead and looks at it, they're going to find themselves fitting at least one of those categories. I know I've fit a couple of them in my years of working HHN. But to go back into your question, do I recommend you going into a house if you're really easy to scare? Yes, absolutely. I mean, you're going to the premier haunting attraction in the world. So, yeah, you're going to get scared, and it's okay. I mean, that's what the scare actors are paid to do, is to scare you. And you pay us to scare you, which kind of is a little bit weird, but that's what people do, and that is what it's all about. And yes, there are a couple of tips. First off, first thing that you need to know, you're there to have fun. Get you out of the defense mode, okay? You're there to have fun. They're there to scare you. It's a very good relationship that way. Also, second tip, go with a group. The more people that you got, it's safety in numbers if you want to call it that way, but the more that you got in your group, the better chances are somebody else is going to get scared in those different houses. And it's kind of fun that way. You know, one person gets scared in one house, another person gets scared in another house. You get to go ahead and share their stories back and forth, and it builds a really, it's team building. It's a group camaraderie is what it is. It's, you know, you're hanging out with your friends, and you're like, you got scared when so-and-so did that. And you're like, no, you got scared when this. And it's really good stories. It's fun to share all year long up until the next event. Next question comes from Ramon Paradoa. I hope I got that right. Hey, Andrew, I have a couple of questions for you, and I've yet to see anyone ask you. Question number 1. What time does a scare actor shift typically start, and what time do they end? Does it depend on which house/zone you're assigned to, or is there a general time you must arrive at the park every day to begin the makeup costuming process? Question number 2. In your opinion, do you think it is possible to work the event full-time while also working a full-time day job, or do you think it would be too physically demanding? Thank you for your time. Well, in all fairness, Ramon, your first question has 2 questions, so your second question is really your third question. But neither here nor there. Let's go ahead and tackle the first part of the first question. A scare actor most of the time shows up 45 minutes before they have to go on set. And that is, and I want to say most of the time, that is the time you're supposed to do. Not everybody shows up on time, and sometimes people show up early as well, but I'm getting sidetracked here. Basically, you have 45 minutes before your set starts. Now, when do you end? That really depends on the cast. If you're on a cast that starts in the very beginning, then you finish 45 minutes before the end of the event. And if you're the second cast that goes out, then you are finished at the end of the event. And that is not like, oh, it's 2 o'clock, that's when it ended, and there's still 50 people in line, so long, we're shutting down the house. No, you still scare everybody until the house is completely empty, and then you go ahead and clock out. So basically, it's at the end of the event if you're the second cast. It really just depends on which one you are. Now, does that matter on scare zones or houses? Scare zones, at the end of the night, when it's the end of the event, they let out. That's it. Houses, you stay until the line is empty. So scare zones, no, not so much. Then also, you do have early opening houses as well. I should point that out. So your start time can be different than other people as well. So you have a thing called Stay and Scream, and you have early opening houses. So if you're an early opening house, then that means your first cast is going to start before everybody else does in the event. Now, makeup starts when you clock in and you go get your stuff. Also, now for your second question. Your second question, which was your third question. But regardless, your second question is on whether it is possible for somebody to have a full-time job and work as a HHN performer full-time. I've seen it done. It can be done. You have to be made of really strong stuff, though. I mean, think about it. You are physically putting yourself out there the entire time, full on blast, every set, over and over and over as a scare actor. And that can be very exhausting. It can be very physically demanding. And I don't know what you would be doing as your other full-time job, but if that's physically demanding too, you are really putting yourself through a ringer. Now, also, a full-time job and a full-time job, you think about it, 8 hours here and 8 hours there, that's 16 hours out of a 24-hour day. Plus, you've got traveling time and things like that. So you're not giving yourself a whole bunch of me time. You're not giving yourself a whole bunch of rest as well. Can you do it? Yes. As in, it's possible people can do it. Not everybody can do it because it is tough to do. Next question goes to Ryan the Cringe. I love that name. What is the meaning of your icon? Does it have to do with your place in Run, Blood, Sweat, and Fears? So the icon that Ryan is talking about is the lightning bolt that is on my chest. And I kind of touch on this with my Phase 1 video, which I'll either put a link up above or I'll put it in the description. Or, actually, I'll put it at the end of the video. What is the meaning? Well, there's different avenues of the meaning of the lightning bolt. It involves my youth, it involves my old nickname, it involves a superhero I created, it involves my role as Herman Blitzkrieg in Halloween Horror Nights 25's Run, Blood, Sweat, and Fears. So there are many different reasons why I have this icon. Next question goes to Dakota Butler, who asks, what do you guys do when it's like 20 minutes till closing and it's been a slow night and nobody's coming into the house? Do you guys break character and talk, or just kind of sit there? So a quick answer to the last question, and that is, do you just sit there? No. You do not sit at any point in time unless your character is supposed to be sitting. That is a no-no. You don't sit back a house. You don't sit on set. You do not sit. Now, getting back into the whole question here, this really happens every house a couple times throughout the whole event. Whether you're a popular house or you're not, if you're an original property, if you're an intellectual property, you will have slow moments, especially at the end of the night, especially in the beginning of the event when not everybody has gotten there. And this happens more to original properties than intellectual properties because the intellectual properties draw people in. You know, they recognize, they know those characters, so they want to see them. The original properties, people have to warm up to a little bit. So the official stance on during your lulls and everything is to scare the air, which that means that basically you continue to work on your craft. Even though nobody's coming by, you hit your triggers, you step out, you do your lines, you do your motions, whatever it is, and you work on your timing. Is a perfect way to keep on getting that timing. So when people do show up, you are doing a perfect scare and you're really getting them. That is the official stance on that. Does that happen all the time? No. No, not really. It doesn't happen all the time. I'll give you an example, though, when it comes to me, in something that I did. There was a time last year, Halloween Horror Nights number 26, at the house that I was in, Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I was outside of that house, but when it rained, I had to go inside the house, and there was alternate spots for me to go into, and I believe I might have been the only Leatherface in the house that had the pretty lady mask and suit and the butcher killing mask as well. So I had two costumes, which, hey, that makes me special, I guess. I don't know. But the other spot that I went into when I was in the house was a spot that was called Here He Comes. And I will show you a picture here. This is not me in that spot, but that is the section that's called Here He Comes. And you can see that the hitchhiker is there and Leatherface is there. Hitchhiker comes from the right, Leatherface comes from the left when you were walking through. Now, the rain had gotten so bad that people were tracking water in while they were walking through. They were tracking it because of their shoes were wet, but also people were wearing ponchos, and that collects water, and as you're walking through, you're getting the whole floor wet, and it becomes a safety hazard. So basically, I also think that the tent might have had a leak that particular night. Neither here nor there, the ops and the tech department had to go through to make sure everything was clean, everything was walkable, so nobody would slip, fall, hurt themselves. Especially when you're jumping and everything, being scared, you might lose your footing a little bit. So they had to go through the entire house and quick kind of squeegee up, clean up, get some towels and soak up everything so people can continue to walk through. But they did not want us to leave, and it wasn't during a shift change or anything like that. So we had to stay in our spots, and they expected to go through pretty quick, which they did. Now, during this time, some people in the house still continue to scare the air. They continue to work on their triggers. They were doing a great job, bang-up job. I didn't. Basically, since I was in that room, in that section of Here He Comes, I worked opposite of the hitchhiker, and the person that was playing the hitchhiker, awesome guy by the name of Chris. He, who is the guy that was in the photo. Chris and me as Leatherface were joking back and forth during this time. I mean, you're basically standing there looking at each other, and what do? I mean, I'm looking at the hitchhiker, and he's looking at Leatherface, and we're just standing there looking at each other. So what happened? We had a dance-off. And then we had a runway battle. He came out of the doorway and striked a pose, and I came out of the slaughter door area, and I strutted my stuff. And I am certain that the ops and the techs that were going by, seeing this battle between the hitchhiker and Leatherface dance-off / runway battle, I'm sure it had to be a very memorable moment. So, yeah, sometimes we do break character a little bit, but not to the point of ruining the moment for any guest. I hope that answers some of your questions there. As always, like, comment, share, and subscribe. Make sure that you tap the bell icon when you subscribe so you get notified the moment that I upload. And I will see you in the next video.